All right, what's going on, y'all? So today I'm officially 16 weeks out from the Desert Wolf 100K. So now I'm really getting into the meat of the training, and this week was the biggest week of training I've had yet. Because of that, though, I was made aware of a pretty big problem that I've got, a pretty big issue that I've got to figure out throughout this summer with training, or we're going to have some pretty big, massive issues with trying to accomplish this goal. So I'm going to talk to you all about that today. I'm going to give you all a full recap of how this week's worth of training went, the weight, the mileage, all of it, and then what's changing, and then frankly what I'm gonna have to do to figure out this issue. But this morning, we've got our last run of the week. It's just gonna be an easy zone 2, 5 miles on the trail. We had our long run yesterday, so feeling a little bit tired in the legs, but overall good to go to knock out some easy miles on the trail. So I'm gonna go ahead, knock out this run, and then talk to y'all about how this week's worth of training went for the 100K. All right, let's get into it. All right, we're out here. I'm about to hit the halfway point, and it is hot and humid. It's been a pretty hot and humid week all week. The humidity here in Austin, Texas has just been absolutely mind-blowing, and I've definitely come to figure out over all the years that I've been a runner that I'm more cold-blooded. Like, I definitely do way better than a lot of people in cold weather, and do worse than a lot of people, not as much with heat, but especially humidity. You know, I would choose a dry 95 degrees over a humid 80 degrees any day. So it's been rough. And doing all the runs based off heart rate in zone 2, it's been causing the runs to be pretty dang slow. But with that being said, there's been improvement across the board on all the runs. You know, in the logbook, my pace is getting faster at the same heart rate with about the same or even worse humidity and heat. So it's getting better, but this is brutal. You know, if I ever wanted to do the Badwater 135, being here in Texas, I'm definitely in a spot to train for it. But we're wrapping up the first half here. I'll finish this up and catch y'all at the end. All right, just finished up that run. That was just an easy 5 miles on the trail. With that being said, it is getting pretty hot here. You know, we're already at 80 degrees right now, and Jacqueline and I have been getting up pretty early to try to beat the heat. But with getting up early, that's where we've been having the really bad humidity. You know, the humidity kind of dries off as the day goes on. And then with more heat coming now in Austin, Texas, the humidity is drying off. So, you know, with whole pick your poison, you know, choose heat or humidity, I would definitely choose heat. So I'm thankful for it. The runs are getting a little bit better now that it's drying off. But with that 5 miles, that wraps up the running for the week. We have 30 miles locked in for the week. I'll throw the Strava up on the screen, but that's 30 miles for the week. We're supposed to actually do 28 on the training schedule, but yesterday we had an 8 mile long run planned, and Jacqueline and I drove downtown Austin to do Town Lake Trail around Lady Bird Lake, and that's just a 10-mile loop. So we decided to extend the 8-mile run to a 10-mile run just to get the full loop in. So with that 10-mile run yesterday, that bumped us up to 30 miles for the week rather than 28. So now that we're a little bit ahead of mileage, it is going to bump up the long run mileage for at least the next several weeks until I have a deload. So, you know, the more mileage is definitely going to help with the training. So 30 miles for the week. All the runs went really, really well. The runs are getting better and better and better. So I'm logging all the runs on a logbook. And with that, you know, even with heat going up and all of that, the run times are getting a little bit better. And I'm keeping all my runs, or at least the zone 2 runs, in heart rate, obviously, and tracking the heart rate. You know, I'm getting fast at that heart rate, and pretty quickly too. So I'm very excited about that. Same thing with Jacqueline. Jacqueline's improving really, really, really rapidly. You've never done over what, 4 or 5 mile run before?
I didn't even do a 4 mile or 5 mile run.
Yeah, she had never done a 4 or 5 mile run. And then she started running with me about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and then did her first 10-mile run yesterday. So she's kicking ass too. So with that wraps up the running for the week. The long run yesterday made an issue that I've got to figure out very, very, very apparent. I've already been kind of worrying about something over the last couple weeks that looked like it could be an issue. And then yesterday's long run made it very apparent that if I don't get this fixed, this could be a problem that could screw me for the race. But I'll talk to you all about that when I get back to the house. So that wraps up the running, 30 miles for the week. the training sessions. Today I've got a hamstrings and back workout, and that'll wrap up the 5 training sessions for the week. And I'm actually making a slight training adjustment that I'll talk to you guys about later today, and actually adding in something I've frankly never done before. And I added it in the other day, and it's gonna be quite interesting. So I'll show y'all what that is later today. But that wraps up, the training. Overall, very, very solid week of training. I'm getting asked all the time, especially on Instagram, of, my joints. I have so many comments of guys essentially saying, A, I shouldn't be running with how heavy I am. B, there's no way I can run with how heavy I am, let alone run endurance runs. And to be frank, guys, my joints are feeling absolutely fantastic. And I know I've been keeping you guys posted on the shin soreness. I was worrying that I was getting shin splints and they were getting worse. And I've talked to y'all about how in the past I've had shin splints that have put me out before and kept me from running, and then I've had shin splints that I've been able to heal kind of running through. And I was worried about these ones since I'm coming at this new running bout with the heaviest weight I've ever been, the most muscle I've ever had. And with that being said, the shins are almost completely healed. So today, and actually frankly this whole week, they felt essentially 95% better. So they're almost completely healed up. And that's with us ramping up mileage. So definitely stoked about that. But overall, the body is feeling absolutely fantastic. With that being said, I do have another issue that I've got to figure out. And I'll talk to y'all about that when we get back to the house. So we're going to go ahead and get back. I'll get cleaned up, get some food in me, and then talk to y'all about this issue we've got. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this potential issue that I've been noticing. So as y'all know, I weigh myself every single morning right when I wake up. And over the last several weeks, after these runs, whether they've even been 3-mile runs, 4-mile runs, 5-mile runs, I've been weighing myself when I've gotten back here to the house. And I've been dropping quite a bit of weight on these runs. And I have noticed too that I'm sweating a lot more now than I did way back in the day before I became a pro bodybuilder, and when I was an ultra runner and hybrid athlete back in the day. I'm sweating a lot more now. Kind of makes sense with the added muscle tissue and all of that, the added size. But with that being said, I'm sweating a ton. So then yesterday with the 10-mile run, I woke up and I was 229 point something pounds before the run, and then after the run I got back and I was 222 pounds. So I literally dropped over 7 pounds on the run. So one part of this issue is a nutrition problem. So one is I'm not eating enough. As y'all know, I've been kind of putting myself purposely in a caloric deficit to allow my weight to come down. With that being said, it's coming down now too fast. And I'm noticing that with the runs, I'm just dropping too much weight. So first off, I am going to be increasing my just regular daily caloric amount just a little bit. I still want to be in a deficit, but just not as much of a deficit. And then two, a big point of this is my intra-run nutrition. I'm going to have to beef this up. I'm burning through tons and tons of calories at my size. So on the runs themselves, I'm going to be doing more. On the 10-mile run yesterday, all I did was 200 calorie goos. So I can definitely utilize quite a bit more calories. But the big main issue, and this is the part that I've got to figure this out before the 100K, and especially before these big long runs, is the sweat loss. The sweat loss, yesterday I went through, this is a 20-ounce bottle, I went through one of these every 45 minutes and I still dropped that amount of weight. So my sweat loss right now is absolutely through the roof. So I'm gonna have to figure out the hydration thing, because the race is going to be in September here in Austin, Texas. So September is still really hot in the middle of the day, and I will be sweating a lot. So even if I'll be at a little bit of a lighter weight, I still got to figure out this hydration issue. So that's going to be a big mission of mine, especially over the next several weeks, the next 4 weeks. I really want to get this kind of figured out and locked down. But the intra-run hydration, plus I'm going to need to be stacking that with electrolytes and salt and all of that. And then the other part of it is the intra-run nutrition. But I'm not as worried about the nutrition part. The hydration part. Yesterday after the run, I felt completely bonked. I had a push day yesterday evening after the 10-mile run, and I felt like I was super deep in a contest prep with how low energy I felt. With that being said, even though I had such low energy, I was literally hunched over machines during the workout, strength numbers actually held quite well. And I've actually made a couple adjustments to my training this week, and I'll be showing you all that when we get to the gym today. But I made a couple adjustments to the training that's actually helped with that. So strength is actually holding, but with that being said, I got to figure out this weight issue. So with that being said, y'all know that I've been kind of holding at 230 for the last several weeks. We are now obviously dropping. This morning I woke up at 224, and then I just weighed myself just now after meal 2, and I'm 224. So I'm going to definitely have a pretty big drop tomorrow, but that's where I do need to go ahead and start adding back a little bit of calories, especially during the runs. And then the main thing is figuring out the hydration. But weight's starting to come down now, which is definitely helping with the runs. So, you know, we're just going to keep chipping away. Like I said, I think I'm going to probably settle around a 205-ish. And I think starting the race at around 205 to 210, I'll be in pretty good shape. So that's kind of the goal. But today we've got a pretty killer hamstrings and back day. I've got deadlifts on the menu. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and show y'all some of the kind of new changes I've made to the training that is definitely going to help with all of this. But we're going to go ahead and get ready for the gym now. I'm actually going to go ahead and smash a couple donuts, and then I'll catch you guys at the gym. Those are tough. All right, just finished up that pull day. So I started with hamstrings with deadlifts and moved into back, and then finished off with buys. And then as y'all saw, I'm now getting on the rower. So this is something that I'm a complete beginner at. I literally have done the rower a few times way back in the day when I did CrossFit for a period, but I'm pretty much a complete beginner with this. So I'm adding this in right now to the back end of pull days, and then potentially some Sundays. And the reason I'm doing this is, one, I'm wanting to be, an overall more well-rounded athlete. So with the runs, I'm focusing on most of it of long zone 2, really building up an aerobic base. I do have some speed workouts built in there, but that's where this is really coming in. This is really going to help me have a little bit more high aerobic work and then some anaerobic work. And then also this is going to help me streamline the physique a little bit, which will only help with the endurance side. You know, I want to keep my size, but I do need to streamline down just a bit to become more efficient. So this right now, this is sucking hardcore for me because I'm doing pretty short, more interval style training on the rower. And so, you know, this is kicking my butt right now. So right now I'm kind of really trying to figure out, you know, more of the mechanics and the form of all that, how to get it down to where it's a little bit more efficient. But I'm super stoked to kind of see how this grows now. You know, I've got some friends in this space that they do some kick-ass stuff on the rower. So we're adding that in. So now we've got 5 lifts per week, 5 to 6 runs per week, and then this is going to be in at least twice per week, and then that might taper up from here. So we're only, you know, kicking things up a notch, and this is only going to help things out on the ultra running side as well. So this is kind of just helping everything, help me being more of a well-rounded athlete. But you know, that wraps up today's vlog. We're officially 16 weeks out from the 100K now. So this is really kind of the meat of training. And you know, for my bodybuilding days, you know, the 16 weeks out is typically when prep is, you know, kind of really going in hardcore. My mindset now is, you know, we're fully locked in, really ramping things up. You know, this 100K is definitely on the forefront of my mind. So we're gonna go ahead and nail this training. This next week we've got 34 miles planned out. And then obviously everything on the bodybuilding side is staying the same, and then we're gonna start tapering up this run. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Be happy, be positive, be powerful. Have a great rest of your day.